For Session Update, I'm Shannon Lurkey. This morning, Governor Dayton hosted a breakfast with House and Senate leaders. Afterwards, he met with the press to take questions on a range of topics, including House and Senate proposals to continue funding the Minnesota licensing and registration system called MNLARS, tax conformity, and the disruption by high school students during a Senate committee to push for stricter gun laws. Here's that media event.
Had a cordial bipartisan legislative leader breakfast this morning. Talked about a number of things, but most directly the resolution of the MNLARS temporary funding situation, which I emphasize again and again is not an appropriation from the general fund. It is a transfer of money already provided to the Department of Public Safety in a special account, transferring that $10 million for the purpose of getting continuing to make progress on the resolution of MNLARS. The House bill, as I've made clear to Representative Torkelson and to the legislative leaders for the last month, that I would not support any cannibalization of other state agencies. We went through a budget session last year. They established the budgets for the respective agencies. The agencies are proceeding with those financial plans already underway. And it's just, to say, given this is not a new appropriation, it's a transfer of money, there's no justification whatsoever for taking that money from other state agencies. I will veto that measure if it's in the bill. I'll veto the bill, and then we'll be done. You know, if they have a chance now. They finally got around a month now after the session to passing legislation. The Senate legislation is acceptable. The House legislation is not. And they're going to conference committee, I'm told. It's time to resolve this. It should have been resolved a month ago. They keep batting it around. Great for getting front page headlines, which is probably part of the strategy. Just keep it in the public eye and have people believe this is the only thing the executive branch does, and certainly for the last month. But it's time now to either put up or go on and make it possible to continue the progress. We have an outstanding new commissioner, and I think she's established her credibility with legislators on both sides of the aisle. And she's already made it clear that she's prepared to shoulder the responsibility for moving this forward. Now it's a question of whether we're able to do so or not. If they won't provide the funding, and without those kinds of impossible strings attached, then I will conclude that they don't want to solve this problem. They just want to carry it forward into next November's election. And so it's either solve it or, as I say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So then now's the time to find out. Also, suggested to the Republican leaders at the breakfast that they read my tax bill, or the proposal of it, so they can refer to it honestly and accurately. It's not a tax increase. If they read the materials, they would know it's not a tax increase on individual Minnesotans. In fact, it provides an average tax cut of $117 for Minnesotans through the federal, how we handle the federal tax bill. And by extending the working family credit, it provides an additional average reduction of $160 to families that qualify for that program. It's a tax cut for individuals. It's not even a tax increase on corporations. It's just saying that certain parts of the Minnesota corporate statutes will conform to federal and other parts will not. But we're not raising corporate taxes. We're just not agreeing that we're agreeing actually this time with the federal treatment of foreign profits, that if it's repatriated, it should be declared and taxes should be paid on it. That's not a tax increase. It's just saying pay your taxes on your profits. Everything else was pretty cordial and nothing else moving forward at this point. We talked about the importance of the pension reforms. They're expensive. I'm not happy with them in terms of the costs they will impose on this biennium. $27 million, what did you say, 118 million? 114 million the next biennium, and then it goes into the 271 or something like that in the following, and the out biennium. It gets increasingly expensive, but it's going to get only more expensive if we delay responding to it. The credit agencies, as Commissioner Franz is going to attest, have been asking about our unfunded pension liability. We really don't have an option if we want to maintain the financial integrity that we've established now, but to respond to that. Senator Julie Rosen has been outstanding and taking the lead in the Senate on this measure, and I hope the House will follow suit, and I hope we'll get that passed, not because anybody wants to spend that kind of money, but because it's absolutely required to do so to preserve our public pensions. I also urge that the employee contracts that be signed, responsible. The agencies are paying for the additional costs out of their existing budgets for this year and next fiscal year. So it's not imposing additional costs on taxpayers. It's just simple. We have quality public employees, and we need to keep them, and we need to pay fairly, and this accomplishes that. Glad to respond to questions.
Do you believe that the Republicans are holding up on ratification of the state employee contract? Actually, it's going to be the rotunda day, so that's why I asked specifically.
They haven't passed it. You know, there are some who wanted to link it to the funding of their own salaries, which they enacted the first week. The fact is now it's been a month. They've been in session. So what they haven't done speaks for itself.
So was there any movement in MNLARS this morning? Or did you
I didn't get any, I didn't ask for any firm commitment. I just made it clear once again, I will not support a bill that's going to take $10 million from other state agencies. When, again, this is not an appropriation of new money, it's a transfer of existing appropriation. And I didn't get any real pushback on that. The Senate bill, as I said, is you know, we can live with that, and will, and we'll see where the House wants to go with it. If they want to just drag this out further, then that's their prerogative. But I'm not, you know, then we're done trying to resolve this in this session. We'll just have to put MNLARS improvements on hold, and the next administration can take it over.
Governor, your proposal for a $2 transaction fee for this was strong bipartisan vote that said no to it in the House.
Yeah, it's an election year. So now any funding to improve MNLARS comes out of the general fund rather than on a fee, but, you know, so be it.
Governor, you're saying that leave it to the next administration. If you veto this, then we're done. If they bring...
I'm not going to bring this up again. I'm not going to see this go on for another 2 months. They're batting this around and getting as much publicity as they can and making all of state government look as bad as they can for political contrivance. You know, MNLARS it is what it is, and it hasn't been what it hasn't been. I've said that. I've taken responsibility for it. Now we want to fix it. Now we have a plan to fix it, a solid plan, one that requires additional funding, transfer of this money, and then additional funding at the end of the legislative session to carry it into next year. Either do it or don't. Either support it and make it possible to improve it, or hold it off, or put impossible conditions on it so you can bat it around politically for another couple of months and delay any improvements until after the November election. I'm not going to play along with that.
Does that mean, Governor, that if they send you a bill that you are not able to support and you veto it, that if they send you any other bill in this legislative session, that it would not elicit your signature, or what does that mean exactly?
Any other bill? I mean, on anything? No.
Maybe they will decide to change their stance on it.
Well,
more pressure.
We won't see, but I'm not going to keep pushing it. I'm not going to keep giving them headlines.
Governor, they say that your way of showing that you feel responsible is to take a hit, budget-wise.
Well, I'm not going to pay it for it myself. I'm not going to cannibalize other agencies who have no culpability whatsoever in this. You know, there's a cost overrun. I mean, that's happened before in state government, and it's nothing anybody wants. And I'd say it's unusual for it to have happened during my 7+ years, but it is what it is. And if they don't want to appropriate any more money, then we'll just have to leave it where it is.
Other questions?
Governor, do you think it being an election year is going to make it hard to get anything done?
Yes, I concluded that after this go around with MNLARS. I've said all along I thought it was going to be a very partisan session, very political session. We started out with a rapprochement, and I hoped it would continue and carry over into things like MNLARS in the very beginning. It obviously hasn't happened, and you know, with all the lip service to friendly, and the breakfast was generally cordial. I mean, we get along fine until we have to start talking about policy matters. But you know, it's so clear to me what's going on here in terms of the partisanship and the political strategy behind the MNLARS thing, and that's going to be apparent for everything else I expect.
What about for an issue as important as tax conformity that could mean some serious headaches and financial trouble for Minnesotans? Is that going to be imperiled by election year politics?
Well, the situation there, we did talk briefly about the taxes. We didn't discuss anything in specific, but doing nothing raises taxes for a couple 100,000 Minnesotans, raises state personal income taxes. Conforming does the same to another group of a couple 100,000 Minnesotans. So, I mean, doing nothing is not just leaving the cards on the table. It's got to have an effect, and that's, you know, the challenge that I face. That's why we worked, you know, long and hard to come up with a proposal. I'm waiting to see what their proposals are. We probably won't see them until after the recess, which is fine. If that's the time they need, but at some point they're going to have to come forward with their own proposals, unless they want to just pass mine, which is fine with me. But I'm not going to hold my breath, but you know, we'll have to see it. It's a tough, as I said before, it's very complicated, and it's very hard to make it all work in a way that, in the case of my proposal, reduces taxes for over 2 million Minnesota individual taxpayers, and it's a great big challenge, and for them to even agree among themselves within their own caucuses is going to be challenging, much less to agree on the House and Senate floor, and then in conference committee, and then ultimately conversation with me. But again, if we gridlock on it, and so nothing happens, then existing Minnesota law applies, and there'll be a couple 100,000 Minnesotans with a personal income tax increase in 2019.
By redirecting some of the additional money from businesses to individuals and families, that will be politically popular enough in an election year to start to cut through?
Well, we're not raising taxes on corporations. We're conforming on some federal measures like the 179. It's $100 million of direct relief to farmers. I've been told by a couple of legislators that for farmers, that's the #1 priority, the immediate expensing of those capital investments. Same thing for small businesses. Well, we're not conforming on, we are conforming actually on the federal repatriation of money. We're conforming on that. That's you know, the feds are requiring them to pay taxes on that money that's being repatriated. We're going to do the same. It's not, they can call it a tax increase, but it's not. We're not raising taxes on any corporation. We're just not providing some of the deductions that they got out of the federal bill. But you know, we did generate net revenues there that we could use to make the personal income tax side of it work. If they don't want to do that, then I guess the question is, what's their alternative?
Governor, do you have any comment on the students yesterday who interrupted the Senate Judiciary Committee to try to get a hearing on the gun violence bills?
Well, I don't. Everybody in this building has a First Amendment right. I don't condone people disrupting or shutting down a hearing, but I support their expression of their alarm at the lack of any affirmative action by legislators on some very legitimate concerns that they have, as well as measures like universal background checks and raising the age at which someone can buy an assault weapon. I think those are good, just common sense measures that have the support of overwhelming majority of Minnesotans, and for them not even to get a hearing is really unconscionable. So I support their intense desire to see some action. Another shooting today in Maryland, not yet reported any fatalities, but I mean, school safety, and and that's another measure we did talk about at breakfast. I think we'll find some areas of agreement there. But they have a right to be concerned. They have a right to be alarmed and fearful for their safety, because this can happen anywhere. And it's incumbent on all of us in this building to do everything we possibly can to prevent that from happening here.
They are not successful in getting a hearing on this. What should they do? Other groups on the police issue shut down freeways, as an example. What would be appropriate if they keep on coming back to the Capitol and there are no hearings on these bills, as you believe is reasonable that they have hearings on them? What should these students do realistically?
Well, keep raising the issues in lawful, peaceful manners. Continue to raise the issue to public attention, and then get involved electorally next November and re-elect people or elect people who are going to be supportive of common sense gun safety measures, and replace people who are not.
Governor, a question I'm sure everyone wants you to answer. Where do you stand on the new proposals for another year moratorium on ditch mowing?
Oh, God.
The issue that rural legislators tell me is what they hear the most.
I don't know. It's just one of those where there's not going to be a satisfactory resolution on whether August 1st is the appropriate date or not. They took away MnDOT's authority to regulate for a year. Whether they reimpose that or not, I think it's better and safer for people to have to go through an application process. MnDOT is streamlining that process so farmers can apply more readily. But the real crux of the debate is, when it's so to be allowed. And right now, it's by default, it's August 1st. I don't have to take position on issues like that anymore. You can ask the candidates for my successor where they stand on that.
Speaking of an election during candidates, former Governor Tim Valeni announced yesterday he is running. He talked about the tough decisions he made to balance the budget when he was governor. Any interest in wading into your opinion on that?
No. He has a perfect right to run. Does anyone? And that political debate, which is an appropriate one, will be conducted, I think, first within the Republican circles and ultimately in the general election. And I'm not a candidate. Not to say I won't have an opinion somewhere in the fall, but not at this point.
At least an opinion you're willing to share, right?
That's right. There we go. Yeah.
There's a bill moving forward in the House that would require an ultrasound be shown to a woman when she gets.
Sorry.
There's a bill moving forward in House committee that would require that an ultrasound be shown to a woman for whatever you're thinking of.
Well, the Minnesota Medical Association came out with a letter opposing it and explaining why. The College of Obstetrics and not genealogy. I was going to say obstetrics and geriatrics, but that's not right. Whatever, they came out also said it's political intrusion into the doctor-patient relationship. I mean, they can speak more authoritatively than I, but when the medical leaders of the state come out and oppose it, then to me it's ill-advised. And again, it's just more political intrusion into what should be a doctor-patient relationship.
Governor, given where you're at with MNLARS right now, and just how the session has gone thus far, what's your best case scenario at this point of what shakes out of this session come at the end of May?
Well, the funding for right now for the $10 million to allow the progress that's being made to continue, try to retain as many of these people that are out of a job on April 1st, try to retain those that haven't already signed somewhere else, continue that progress, and then hopefully get to the funding at the end of the session, again, without impossible strings attached to it, that will allow the progress to continue for the next fiscal year, for fiscal 19.
Okay. Governor, were you surprised earlier this morning to hear Imam Assad's Imam say that he was unable to get a meeting with the Republican legislative?
I hesitate to comment on what they actually put out because I haven't seen it. I heard his description of it, but I think he said it very well. Is that a standard that legislators, especially the legislative leaders, impose on everybody who wants to meet with them, that they come from their respective districts? Or is that a different standard being applied here? I meet with anybody who wants to meet with me. If you can't defend your position in the face of people who fundamentally disagree with you, then in my mind, you don't, that's just part of the responsibility you have for taking a position that has a contrary effect on the lives of the people who disagree with you. And it seems to me you have a responsibility to the people who, especially people who are coming in on a day like this to meet with them. I think that's it's a responsibility of responsible legislators and public officials.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.